So we'll call this, EG1. Why not? We should be naming stuff. Naming stuff is cool. It's a very cool thing to do. So that's example one, right? We're gonna call this example two. Um, oh no, I used EG, not EX. Example two. So here's where I'm gonna get a bit funkier. Um, Sometimes you're just like, you know what, this as a thing is not really working for me. So I don't really want to be jumping in and you just using loops of 2 bars or 4 bars. Don't be against it like completely because sometimes it's the best thing to do. Um, but you're like, I want to chop this sample up and I want to do what, all of the great producers have done in hip hop, particularly on, MPCs and all of that kind of stuff. You want to do something like that. Well, you can do it. So the cool thing here is we have kind of like a reference tempo ish. So we could set our session tempo to that. But I'm gonna be a bit, you know, I'm going to cause some problems for myself, basically. And I'm going to say I want to sit at 110, which is, an okay tempo, but is not the original tempo, particularly of that first 4 bars. So, what's going to happen here is I'm just going to do a really, really simple thing because I want to start to show you kind of like the back end of how you can get a bit, more freaky with samples, basically. So there's a few ways to do this. There is a shortcut. I'm not going to show you the shortcut just now because I want you to see kind of like the slightly more long-winded way. Um, if I right click, this depends on what your settings are and your preferences, but if I right click, I get my whole um, tool kind of menu bar, kind of like all of that kind of stuff, and I get some of my recently used functions, as it were. And there's one down here called convert, and convert to new sampler track is the one that we're going to be after. Now, the shortcut for that is Control E. Um, so that little kind of like hat thing is the control key. So I can do it that way, and that would give me a new sampler track. And Logic, much to the elation of Logic users, have changed the interface of their sampler, and that is like probably the primary way that I personally would do it. Now, what you can see, one thing that I've done there, and this is even quicker, is I've clicked this audio file and you can see this little box comes up. Drag regions here to create instrument tracks. It just comes up underneath that track there, yeah? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click this audio that I've got in and I'm going to drag it and then I'm going to go to one of these two, right? Quick Sampler or Quick Sampler Optimized. Quick Sampler Original or Quick Sampler Optimized. Um, and so essentially, if I'm using like single hits like drums or whatever, packs that I might have downloaded from wherever, or anything like that, I'd probably go to Quick Sampler Original. Quick Sampler Optimize is a little bit more in depth, so we're gonna take a look in there. Bang, there you go. And it's not doing anything, which is just absolutely perfect. There you go. Right, so this has taken a few liberties, right, with my audio file here. It's basically gone, I know what you want to do. I know you want to slice this up, right? And I mean, it's not wrong. I'm not going to lie to you. I do want to slice it up. And it's kind of sliced it up for me as much as it can, in a way that it thinks that I want to work with it. Now, do I? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. There's a few different things here. I'm not going to go over recorder, but you can record samples straight in to Logic. So if I had my turntable, which is just behind this camera, plugged in, I could record straight into Logic and straight into the sampler. You've got one shot, which is where you basically go in and you just trigger the sample one time. And classic, which is the old school method way of doing it, which is, to me, is like, oh yeah, because you get the ability to add like loop sections and stuff like that. I'm going to keep it simple and I'm going to go to slice. Okay. Now, slice, what slice does is it goes, right, okay, you see all those like parts that are played, those individual chords and stuff like that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take those and I'm going to drop them on your keyboard for you, right? Which is very kind of Logic first and foremost. But what you want to be able to do is you want to be able to zoom in and see what is happening. Now, this might take a minute because I feel like it's having some trouble kind of picking up. Oh, no, well, it's not actually. So I would then already have these mapped out on my keyboard. Now I have an 88 key controller in front of me, and it looks like it's gone all the way. So my bottom key, oh, it hasn't gone all the way. So my bottom key, which is one octave above, and I'm just playing up chromatically essentially on my keyboard there. But it's basically taken that entire passage and it's gone, yeah, well, I guess what I'm going to do for you, mate, is I'm going to take all of these and get them sorted out, laid out on the keyboard. Now, it's not bad what it's done. It's actually quite good. And you'd think on the surface of things, you think to yourself, oh, yeah, man, this is so amazing and all of this kind of stuff. Well, I want something a little bit more custom than, just like random tiny, tiny snippets of vinyl noise. Like I wouldn't really want that. Like I'd want a longer kind of phrase or a chop or a slice as it's referred to here. So what I'm going to do here is we got different modes which it detects, right? So I'm going to come back to transient and note, but I could do beats and divisions. So this would kind of knock it up into beats or equal divisions, like. In what it's doing there is it's equally dividing that audio file. So if it was something that was already in time, you could just be chopping it up in that kind of way, or you can do it manually, right? Now, with transient and note, this is probably my favorite because it kind of allows me the quickest access to the whole thing. At the moment, the sensitivity is at 100. Now, if I bring this down to just 50, for instance, here, or roughly 50, you can see that the chops have kind of gone a lot wider and I've got more chunky kind of chops to play with. My start key here is C1. I'm going to leave it at that. So that's the second C that's on my keyboard. But now the chops are a lot fatter, I can get much more musical phrasing out of it. So that one's kind of the same. So, you can kind of go, oh, right, okay, cool. Like, and I'm just playing these kind of through as is. You can lay them out chromatically or you can lay them out on all white or all black keys. So if I wanted to lay them on all white keys, what I will do here is, so I'm only playing the white keys. And you can hear some of this double triggering that's going on and stuff like that. It's not exactly what we want, but we can come to that. Then I'm going to go back to chromatic, by the way, because I don't like that at all. You can choose to gate your samples as they play. You can choose to play them till the end, no matter if you hold the key down or not. Got a bit of flex time going on there, and you can ask when you have that on to follow the tempo. And you can play in different time division variants, if you want to call it that, of the tempo. So if it was follow tempo, and if this was in tempo, remember this is not in tempo at this point in time. I could play it at half speed. So you can see that, or, let's get funny. Or 8 times as fast. You could barely hear the notes there. But I'm going to take it back to 1. I'm going to turn that off, right? Now the cool thing with this is you get all of those options, and that's lovely. But you also get options by way of, um, I suppose, LFOs, which would be synthesis. If you wanted to use LFOs to modulate anything, pitch, you know, um, anything else you could think of. I'm going to turn them off because I don't need them. I can change the actual pitch of this. Now, this is where you need to kind of know if you're trying to do something in a certain key, you need to know music theory somewhat and your reference points for that, major, minor, yada, yada, yada. So I can just do something like really very simple and just bring this down by 3 semitones. And now automatically you're like, oh, that's got more of a lo-fi feel to it if you're into lo-fi stuff or whatever. I'm going to pick this one because it's a longer phrase. And you can see already like there's a bit of a rhythm going on in my head and stuff like that. But I can also make it higher in pitch. Now, one thing you will notice when I'm playing with the pitch here is that the tempo doesn't remain the same of the original sample. So that's where you would probably get some flex involved on this sampler, or you would kind of start to work with it gets a bit grey here, and having to reverse engineer what tempo did I actually play that at, particularly if you're coming up with something. Now I'm going to take it. I actually liked it 3 semitones down, so keeping it 3 semitones down here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and I'm just going to see if I can move this loop slightly. So I'm just going to make it so that this key now, you just saw what I did there. I went to the top, slided it along. Or maybe I should have left it where it was. Okay, so I'm going to try and make that my musical phrase, right? Now, I don't know how that's going to work on the grid at this point in time, but one thing that I would like to do here is I would like to, well, two things. I would like my polyphony to be at 1. So the reason that I want that, or mono, the reason that I want that is because when I trigger a new sample, I want the old sample to be cut off, right? So at the moment, I've got 3 notes that I'm working with. This one, and the last 2 are short, right? But the first one, can you see that I can kind of like I can essentially turn that one off by just going like that, just playing the next note. Now, if my polyphony was what it was originally, it was 16. They would play on top of each other. So you can kind of hear, like, that sounds a bit messy to me. I like stuff to be tidier than that. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to kind of use that as a motif, right? But one thing I'm going to do on here, right, is I'm going to go to the filter. And I'm going to, this is like, supposed to be replicating a filter that you would get on a synth, whether that be a virtual synth, Logic has loads of those, or a hardware synth. So I'm going to just kind of like make this feel a bit more lo-fi. And I'm just going to leave the filter at what it is. And you can hear how I've got rid of some of the higher frequencies, makes it sound like it's underwater, maybe makes it sound like it's further away from you, all of that kind of stuff. And at this point, I'm kind of ready to work with this as something that I can play in, right? And sometimes I might go, I'll just see how I feel. We'll catch a vibe. What I want to do though is example 2. I want to mute that so it doesn't get in my way. Here I have my instrument track. with my quick sampler. There it is. Good, good, good. Now, obviously, when I save this session, one thing to mention is everything will save with it. When you save the session, though, make sure that you're ticking the correct boxes. So don't say I didn't warn you. So you would go there, sampler audio, da 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 da, this, that, and the next. So make sure you got sampler audio data ticked. Okay. So, oh no, yeah, that's the one. Okay, so I'm at the tempo of 110, which I don't really know how this lands in relationship to this specific loop, right? So this specific sampler instrument that I've created. So I'm just gonna vibe with it. And I said I picked 110, and if it doesn't work for me, it's quite clearly my own funeral, right? So here we go. I'm going to press record. To record in Logic, you just press R. Very simple. I'm probably going to get a count in. In fact, I'm definitely going to get a count in. I hope so. Of 1 bar. And then I'm in. And then we'll see how we do. So that's just way too fast, right? So that's not going to work for me. So I need to go in. I need to change the tempo. I knew I would. I'm going to go to 90. See how we feel about that. Okay, so obviously, like, one thing to mention there is like the entire musical phrase in that first sample isn't being played. You got to kind of ask yourself, do you care? Do you want all of those notes in there, or do you not want all of those notes in there? I don't know. Maybe in this instance, I don't really give a damn. I've got obviously a few things here, and just to kind of go in, I would say like maybe the third and the fourth phrase were in terms of the third and the fourth bar, were the best ones for me from what I remember in this musical performance. So I'll just probably go back, have a quick listen. Now the first note doesn't trigger. This is a thing that happens in Logic because the MIDI hasn't been caught. So I'm just gonna go there and I'm gonna just drag that so it's on the line, or I'm gonna use the quantize function. Just press Q. And that should now work. And in fact, my favorite one was the last one, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that and holding Option and just dragging that along, drag, 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 drag. And we have that. I'm going to select all of these and press Command J to join them together so that I have a nice one region of that. And there I have my piano snippet that I created, and I think that it sounds cool. Now, one thing that I'd probably go, well, like, you know, a lot of people would do this. One thing that I'd go to next is probably to drums, and I'm going to kind of show you how I would work with drums in the sampler, although it is basically the same thing again in this situation. So I have a bunch of breaks that I use from time to time, and they are here. And I'm just going to pick a break that I really like. Just get rid of that one for now. I'm going to just pick a break that I really like, which has kind of like a, you know, shall we go for this one? Yes, we shall. Okay, that's originally from Ain't No Sunshine by the version by Michael Jackson. And I'm going to just click and drag that, and you can see now when I hold it here, bang, I've got the same options. I'm going to go to Optimized. Now, the only reason I'm using this here is really to be a drum machine, as it were, right? And it's done the same thing that it's done before. It's kind of like chopped everything up for me and everything. And you can see, because I've got more transients, and transients are these kind of like really sharp points that happen at the beginning of percussive things. It's kind of got it all sorted for me, and it's doing a good thing. So obviously the first one is clear because that's the noise at the beginning of the track essentially. And now I've got a drum kit in front of me. Oh, that's a nice kick. And then that could be my hi-hat if I wanted it to. See if there's any other hi-hats. Okay, that one's quite nice. Yeah, so I'll go for that one. Okay, so what I would do here is, like, I don't want my kick, my snare, and everything to be on the same track, right? So when I'm working with this, I'll probably go. I will start with that, right? But I'm going to kind of split them up and make sure that I can process everything individually because, I'm going to have to process these at some point if I indeed keep the track. So I don't know what's going on here. I don't know what pattern I'm going to play. Okay, we'll go for like a two-step fill. That's called by me. Okay, I did a very, very bad job there of playing the rhythm. But what I'm going to do here is firstly, I'm going to duplicate the track, Command D, remember that one. And I'm going to duplicate this region. And on the top region here, what I'm going to do is just select my fourth slice, which is this, which is my rims. And I'm going to take, no, actually on this, no, yeah, I am looking at the top one. Sorry, I get confused sometimes. I'm going to take my rims away, so that becomes my kicks, right? Kicks. And this becomes my rims or my rim shots. So that I can process them individually. So I take my kicks away from this one, and this becomes my rims, right? So now, what I'm going to do is I'm also going to quantize this. So only for quickness, what I would usually do is actually play this over and over again until I got it right, just to make sure I keep the human feel. Maybe a little bit of quantization sometimes is okay. So grabbing all of these, and I'm going to go quantize. So that puts it closest to puts the hit on the closest 16th note, and I'm just looking at how far off I am, and it's been a long day. So let's see what happens here. This is going to sound terrible, it looks like, actually. Yep, so that's not working for me. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go back and just change this to eighth notes. Okay, and then I would obviously have to add my hi-hat pattern. I'm going to duplicate that, change this to hats. God, this is going to go badly. I mean, there's basically a whole lot of noise in there as well. So, I mean, as a quick tip, what you can do is you can get rid of a lot of that by just putting a low pass, low cut even filter on some of that. So just make sure you're kind of. I mean, I'll keep that. I mean, I shouldn't keep it, but I'm going to just for the vibes. Okay, so we just play a simple pattern here. Definitely done better. Definitely done worse. Not really thinking too hard about it right now. So that's obviously an eighth note pattern. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, which are going to quantize. But actually, this time, I'm gonna give myself a little bit of a break. I'm gonna take the strength away, so I'm not quantized like bang bang on the grid. So there's a little bit of a human feel, even if it is a shabby timing one on those hi hats.